Today our goal is to be able to use a compass and a straight edge to construct a perpendicular bisector. We've done that before, but we didn't call it perpendicular bisector. We're going to apply that to constructing a perpendicular to a line from a point on or off of the line. We're also going to be able to use the words supplementary, linear pair, and vertical angles to describe the angles created by the intersecting lines that we will be constructing. Let's begin with recalling some really important vocabulary. Supplementary refers to angles that add up to 180 degrees. Angles that add up to 180 degrees. Complementary is a similar term for angles that add up to 90 degrees. We're not going to look at those so much today as we are supplementary angles. So supplementary angles could look like this. Draw yourself a tiny little angle that's maybe 30 degrees, and a supplement to it would be an obtuse angle that measures 150 degrees. Notice how we made the two rays to create that angle. So we've got 150 and a 30, and together 150 plus 30 makes 180. So those are supplementary angles. Now, remember, a straight angle is already 180 degrees. So if we merely intersect that straight angle with a line or a ray or something, now we're creating two other angles that are also supplementary. Maybe this acute angle measures 30 degrees and this obtuse angle right here measures 150 degrees. They are supplementary and all together measure the 180 degrees from that straight angle. Now, if the supplementary angles are from a straight angle like that, then they have a better, more specific name, linear pair. Linear pair is that picture. The angles that are adjacent on a line, so there's that word line right there. So think of it as angles that are adjacent next to each other, angles adjacent, they're on a line, they create a line together. They share a common side right there. They are also supplementary. But that's the main part of the word that you want to look at, the line right there, the linear pair. They're on a line. They create a line together. They're 180 degrees. They're supplementary. Vertical angles are also made by intersecting lines. Draw yourself a line and then draw yourself another line intersecting that first line in any way you want to. The angles that are across from each other, like this angle and this angle, those are vertical angles. Vertical angles are going to be congruent to each other. They are across, well, one too many S's, across from each other and congruent and made by the intersecting lines, made by opposite rays. You can think of the sides of the angles. The sides of the angles are opposite rays or intersecting lines, made by intersecting lines. So we have a bunch of different ways we can think of vertical angles, but from the picture, these are the vertical angles. They will be congruent. So these two angles right here, they might both be 30 degrees. They're vertical angles. Now in the picture, we also have these angles. These are also vertical angles. See my angle congruent marks that I'm showing you there. How much would these angles have to be? Well, remember your linear pair, these two angles on a line that have to be supplementary. So these vertical angles will be 150 degrees. Let's take a look now at some important constructions that we have to know. The first one being a perpendicular, drawing a perpendicular to a line through a point that is on the line, through a point that's on the line. So what kind of picture is that going to be that we start with? So here's a picture of what we'll start with for this scenario. A line, I'm calling it line K, and a point that is on the line, we're calling it point P. I brought out my compass and my straight edge to help me with it. So that's the first step. We're given a line and a point on it. That's the first thing. Given a line and the point on that line, the point that's on it. First thing to do is create a segment from that line. So we put the center of our compass on that point that we said it had to go through, and we're going to shorten our compass so that we can create a segment from this line. So I'm measuring to make sure, without drawing, I'm measuring to make sure that my compass is open wide enough, not too wide, but wide enough that it's going to draw and mark off a segment of my line. So what does that look like to mark off a segment? I'm going to put a little arc here and then swing around and put a little arc here. I could draw the whole circle if I wanted to, like this, but I don't really need that. So I just have these two arcs. Now what was that for? Like I said, to create a segment. What does that mean, create a segment? Well, look what we have. A portion of this line has been segmented for us, has been cut off from this intersection point to this intersection point. Now we have just a segment. The rest of this line I don't need. So now it becomes like the bisecting a segment problem. So that's one of the most important things. Given the line, use the arcs, so draw arcs, so draw two arcs or the entire circle from the point to make a segment. That's the big thing here, is we are making a segment. Make a segment. Now it's totally like what we did before. We have these two little arcs here segmenting this line. So now it's just this little segment that we've made. And now that segment is what we want to bisect. Now all the other stuff, all the other parts are the same. Once we make a segment, now we just bisect the segment. And you already have notes on this. So we're just going to review bisecting the segment. What does that look like? Let's review. Take the center, the needle of your compass, over to one end point. Make sure your compass is open past halfway of your segment. Now remember, these are the two endpoints of your segment. The rest we don't need. Draw an arc that goes through the top and underneath, over and under. Again, if you wanted to draw the entire circle, you can do that, but we really don't need all of that. Go to the other endpoint. Don't change the width of your compass. Draw an arc that goes through the bottom and an arc that intersects through the top. Notice the two arcs intersecting at the top and at the bottom. Now is where we need our straight edge. So I'm going to bring it over, line it up between the top intersection and the bottom intersection, and draw my line through those. Now remember how we use our ruler. We check it out in the corner, and there we have definitely a right angle. See, my rectangular ruler snugly fits right in that corner. So I can put my little right angle mark right in that corner. Now, do I have to put it in this corner, or could I have put it vertical to that angle? Both of these angles are right angle. How about the linear pair, the one that's right next to it on the line? I could have put it here. Anywhere I want to put this right angle for the perpendicular lines. Let's take a look at constructing a perpendicular to a line through a point not on the line. Does that sound familiar? Well, remember what we just did. We constructed a perpendicular through a point on the line is what we just did. This one, the point is not on the line. See, it's above it right here. So here's my line K and my point R above it. Now, this is actually identical to the process we just did. Always, if it says go through the point, we start with the center or the needle of the compass on that point. Then we mark off a segment of the line. Make a segment. Now again, I'm going to have to shorten my compass so that I can actually mark on the line. If I mark off the line, it's not going to work. Mark a segment of the line. So I'm going to draw a little arc through that side and a little arc through that side. And now I have marked off a segment of the line. Remember what we said we did before. Here's an intersection point. Here's an intersection point. This is a segment of the line. The rest of it I don't need anymore. I don't need the rest of this line. So I can sort of scribble it out, erase it, whatever I need. So again, the very first step, draw these two arcs so that we can mark off a segment. That's the thing. Draw the two arcs to mark off a segment. Once we have a segment, now it's just to bisect the segment. Now just bisect the segment. Same process we did before. Bisect the segment. It's like we're doing the same construction over and over and over because we kind of are. How do we bisect the segment? One last time to review. Take my compass, draw a little arc from one end point of the segment, from one side of the segment. Now, I actually don't need to draw it over the segment this time because my point is there. But I'm going to do it just to refresh our memory from how we did it before. Just to review the steps, little arc over and a little arc under. Once I have my two pairs of intersecting arcs, bring my straight edge and draw my line. Nice and long. There you go. And once again, we can draw our right angle anywhere we want. Down here, or vertical to it, or linear pair with it. Cool.